What was supposed to be a night of celebration turned into disaster after 4 friends who were all drunk left the bar in the city without a designated driver. Designate a driver. Don't drink and drive.
This is your news source evening bulletin for today, Thursday, the 23rd day of January in the year 2025. I'm Gordon Mosley reporting. Now here's what we're tracking tonight. A meeting between the Alliance for Change and the Guyana Elections Commission ended this afternoon with the leader of the Alliance for Change, prominent attorney Nigel Hughes, describing GECOM's role at the meeting as disastrous. Speaking briefly to reporters outside the GECOM headquarters, Mr. Hughes said GECOM is incapable of hosting national elections.
The meeting with GECOM has been absolutely disastrous from a GECOM perspective, and we are now more than convinced that GECOM is incapable of holding national elections. We are going to hold a formal press conference at 5:30 at the Center for Change, and we'd like to invite everybody to be there. This is unbelievable.
At the press conference late this afternoon, the AFC leader said the meeting with the Elections Commission appeared chaotic at times, but not from his side, from the side of the Elections Commission. He said there were a number of glaring issues that the Commission appears unable to address.
I will close with perhaps this, which we found particularly disturbing. At least 4 commissioners expressed the view that the public had very little confidence in GECOM on 4 separate occasions. They acknowledged that the public had very little confidence in GECOM. We indicated to the Commission no later than 20 to 25 minutes after the commencement of the meeting that given what we had just witnessed, and that was during a very hostile exchange between the commissioners, what we had just witnessed in the Commission, that we have no confidence that the Commission, given the way it currently operates, and given what had clearly become evident that there was a lack of direction, lack of cohesion, and lack of definitive positions, that the Commission, as it is presently structured and the way it presently conducts its operations, was and would be incapable of delivering credible elections for 2025.
Meanwhile, Deputy Chief Election Officer Anil Giddings, who attended the meeting, said he would not want to get into any details about that meeting. He said the meeting went on for a long time. However, he noted that he would not describe the meeting as disastrous.
The meeting was productive.
And government-nominated member of the Guyana Elections Commission, attorney Says Gunraj, told reporters that the meeting was normal and several issues were discussed.
There was a list of items that the AFC wrote to the Commission about, but we were not surprised because coming into the meeting, there clearly was a view that was already parroted and repeated in the media that they have no confidence in GECOM. Maybe, and it was repeated ad nauseum in the media, as all of you have reported. And it is clear that the intent of today's meeting was to act as such, and the questions and the interactions were clearly geared in that direction to perhaps convince themselves of that view which they have formed. It's not surprising. It's not surprising. GECOM can only do its best to ensure that the public has confidence in it. GECOM has, as far as I am aware, has taken steps. But if we want to start to discuss why the public has lost confidence in GECOM, that's another story. That's another story. We have had successive elections.
The Alliance for Change has been raising a number of issues related to the Guyana Elections Commission and its state of preparedness for the upcoming elections. This was the first meeting between the Elections Commission and the Alliance for Change since Nigel Hughes was elected leader of the AFC. More news coming up in just a moment.
It all starts with one. Maybe it's one look. You know the one. Or one touch. Even one word. I can start with one step. Or one promise. One thrill. One first time. One deep breath. One leap of faith. One day to remember, or one night to forget. One moment, so many stories that make up one crazy, average, everyday, fabulous life. We get one life, just one. Make your move. It all starts with one.
Your own home is so much more than just four walls, floors, and ceilings. It's a lifetime of great memories and stories. Come talk to us and start your journey home today.
Republic Bank, we're the one for you.
Honey, what are you doing? Let's cash out. Let's cash out.
Shop $5,000 or more at any Massey stores for a chance to win a 2024 Nissan Qashqai Sense and $100,000 every 2 weeks with Massey Stores Christmas Jackpot Promotion.
Welcome to Dinner Under the Stars. Indulge in a culinary feast prepared by our talented chefs, featuring locally sourced ingredients and exquisite flavors. Every bite will take you on a culinary journey, from unforgettable starters to delectable desserts. Relax to the soothing sounds of the stylistics and blue magic as the stars twinkle above, creating the perfect ambience for a romantic evening or memorable gathering. Join us for Dinner Under the Stars. Reserve your table today and create memories that will last a lifetime.
Already facing more than 200 criminal charges in relation to various financial crimes, Embattled Assistant Commissioner of Police Calvin Brutus now has to deal with a special tribunal, which has been established by the Police Service Commission to examine a complaint of breaches in discipline that has been filed against him. The allegations were filed with the Police Service Commission following complaints from the Guyana Police Force. The appointment of the tribunal comes less than 2 weeks after Mr. Brutus filed a $1.6 billion lawsuit against the government over its diversity in the police force policy, which he has declared is discriminatory. The tribunal met for the first time on Wednesday. The members of the tribunal are former Commissioner of Police Silal Prasad and attorneys Keoma Griffith and Shoshana Lal. Shoshana Lal has been named as the chairperson of the tribunal, and she currently works out of the office of the Attorney General as the Assistant Solicitor General. The recent lawsuit filed against the government of Guyana by Mr. Brutus names the Attorney General as the respondent. Meanwhile, Attorney-at-Law Bernard De Silva has been appointed to serve as counsel for the tribunal. He was tight-lipped on the work of the tribunal today and directed questions to the tribunal secretary. However, he indicated that it appears as though Mr. Brutus has been avoiding service in the matter.
But what you should do is to get Mr. Brutus to come to ensure that he has a fair hearing. He's been avoiding service as far as I'm concerned based on the information I received and the evidence given so far. He seems to be avoiding service.
Attorney Hugh Park is serving as the secretary to the tribunal. He said the tribunal will be issuing a statement on its establishment and work soon. The tribunal has been reportedly trying to get the Assistant Commissioner of Police, Calvin Brutus, to appear before it, but has not had any luck so far. Mr. Brutus reportedly provided a sick leave approval from a city doctor, but that doctor was later summoned before the tribunal to explain the nature of Mr. Brutus's complaint and his reason for approving sick leave. The tribunal met again today, but not much work was done as Mr. Brutus was again a no-show. Contacted for a comment, Mr. Brutus directed all queries to one of his attorneys, UC Anderson. When contacted, Mr. Anderson said he is still to receive clarity on the tribunal and its purpose.
We have not received sufficient clarity as to the constitution of the commission or its purposes. Until that is established, I'm not in a position to comment. I am endeavoring to do so in the very near future to, of course, present a very robust response on behalf of our client, Mr. Brutus. This is the view of the entirety of Mr. Brutus's legal team.
The specific nature of the allegations before the tribunal have not been provided, and the tribunal's hearings will be held away from the media. Well, the Private Sector Commission, which has served as an observer for previous elections in Guyana, has also come out in support of the decision by the GECOM chair not to allow the use of biometrics for registration and at the place of poll for the upcoming elections. The chairman of GECOM, retired Justice Claudette Singh, has cited insufficient time and the need for legislative changes as the main reasons behind her decision. In a statement, the Private Sector Commission said it has taken note of the chairman's decision and fully endorses that decision. According to the PSC, there is no constitutional nor legal requirement for the introduction of biometric fingerprinting identification at the place of poll. The Private Sector Commission also noted that biometric fingerprinting is presently only legally required at the time of registration, adding that the process is conducted with representatives from each political party present to verify voter identity. The PSC also said the voting process in Guyana is highly secure and well protected at the place of poll, declaring that it is impossible at each polling station for anyone to vote more than once, or for one individual to cast a vote on behalf of another person, as each polling station is staffed by officials from the various contesting parties, as well as with both local and international observers, who are present to ensure the accuracy and transparency of the voting process. According to the private sector body, the current use of biometrics at the point of registration is perfectly acceptable for verifying voter identity at the elections. In handing down her ruling last week, the GECOM chairman said that with less than a year to go before elections, and given the number of tasks that would need to be done before such an electronic biometric system can be properly introduced, it would not be feasible within the time presently available. She further explained that in relation to the registration process, there is nothing in the law or otherwise preventing the introduction of a system where such fingerprints are taken digitally, since the Commission is empowered to determine such procedures. However, Justice Singh noted that apart from the necessary elements of implementing such a system, such as the procurement of equipment, training of personnel, and education of the public, there is still the need for the Commission to address other issues, such as ensuring that there is adequate legislation pertaining to the security of prints. In relation to biometric identification at the place of poll, she said there is legal provisions for fingerprints of voters to be compared with that on their identity paper, which equates to the national identification card. She stated that introducing a system of biometric identification of voters digitally as a mandatory or only means of identification would impose an additional requirement for voters and would therefore be unconstitutional. Vice President Jagdeo today came out in full support of the chairman of the Guyana Elections Commission, retired Justice Claudette Singh, for rejecting the implementation of biometrics for this year's general and regional elections. In ruling against the use of biometrics, the GECOM chair explained that it would be unconstitutional to impose another mandatory requirement for voters. The opposition has not taken the decision kindly. The vice president said the decision of the chair is consistent and in line with the Constitution.
But they're vilifying the chairman of the Elections Commission, saying she supports the PVP. What she does, she's been consistent in her ruling. She has to preserve the right to vote. She has to act in a constitutional manner. And that's what she is doing. But if you do that, you've run afoul of the APNU and AFC because you don't fit in to their plot.
The chairman of GECOM had also ruled that while GECOM can implement the fingerprint system, that it will not be feasible in time for the next elections. Mr. Jagdeo said the opposition's continued calls for biometrics is really to set the stage to dispute the elections.
And it's not about biometrics or no biometrics. It is what they want to use it for, and that is what they spoke of. If you listen to Vincent Alexander and all of the others, then you would realize that they want to use it for an unconstitutional purpose, which is to prevent people from voting if your fingerprints, say you show up at the polling place, you have a blackout and you can't use your fingerprint. You know, they can't match your fingerprint. Or there is some glitch in the system. Then you lose the right to vote.
He said while biometrics can be used as a means of verification, it should not be the final means for voting.
Just imagine the amount of confusion you would have at the polling places, in every polling place, because that means you're giving each presiding officer now the right to decide who will vote and who wouldn't vote. So assuming one is pro-PPP or pro-APNU or something like that, they should not have that right. You can't have 2,500 presiding officers deciding on their own who has a right to vote. The Constitution confers that right on us.
The opposition has been calling for the introduction of biometrics for the upcoming elections for more than 2 years.
Welcome to Dinner Under the Stars. Indulge in a culinary feast prepared by our talented chefs, featuring locally sourced ingredients and exquisite flavors. Every bite will take you on a culinary journey, from unforgettable starters to delectable desserts. Relax to the soothing sounds of the stylistics and blue magic as the stars twinkle above, creating the perfect ambience for a romantic evening or memorable gathering. Join us for Dinner Under the Stars. Reserve your table today and create memories that will last a lifetime.
Your own home is so much more than just 4 walls, floors, and ceilings. It's a lifetime of great memories and stories. Come talk to us and start your journey home today.
Republic Bank, we're the one for you.
Ready to up your game? Ready to up your game? Win big with over 60 epic prizes. A brand new PS5, Nintendo Switch, iPhone 16 Pro Max, Apple smartwatch, and the hottest earbuds from Apple and Samsung. Plus, we are giving away thousands in phone credit and a whole year supply of Buster or Turbo Energy drink. Here's how. Buy any Buster or Turbo Energy drink, find the code starting with BB and enter online or on WhatsApp. Visit us on Facebook or Instagram at Turbo_Caribbean or Buster Guyana for all the details. Don't just play. Up your game with Buster and Turbo Energy.
Let's tell you now that the General Secretary of the Guyana Trades Union Congress, Lincoln Lewis, said the government has missed another opportunity to completely abolish the income tax pay-as-you-earn. In an interview with News Source, Mr. Lewis said the move to increase the income tax threshold from $100,000 to $130,000 and the lowering of the income tax rate from 28 to 25% as part of this year's budgetary measures are totally inadequate. He said for too long the working class has been saddled with hefty taxes, while businesses and companies continue to benefit from a range of tax concessions.
We will want to see a removal of PAY in the system, because the concessions that are being given to foreign companies alone is far beyond what the government will garner or the country will garner from PAYE. You are giving away tax concessions to foreign companies, and you're asking people who are paying their dues in this country, born and bred here, to pay taxes. We can't allow that. We are calling again that the PAYE be removed totally from the system.
The veteran trade unionist said there are avenues that can be explored by the government to fill the void if it heeds to the union's call for the elimination of PAYE from the tax system without plunging the country into any economic crisis. Adjustments to taxes for children, taxes paid on overtime, and taxes paid on a second job are among the other tax-related measures in this year's budget. But Mr. Lewis said those measures would only benefit a few, explaining that a large percentage of Guyanese work for $100,000 or less per month, and not many have a second job in the formal labor market. The GTU General Secretary also took issue with the government announcing the continuation of its part-time job program. Under the program, those hired as part-time workers are paid $40,000 per month for 10 days of work in public offices. The government has set aside $11 billion for the initiative this year. But Lewis questioned whether that is the best that a government can do for its citizens.
You have in this country today, you have what you call the 10-day work month. These workers, what are we doing? What is the program there for them? To move them out from that mendicant state that they are in right now. To train them and to create new avenues that they can be assimilated. You know, we are recruiting. We have a document which shows that they are even recruiting laborers from Asia, when we can, and those people work for a full week, a full month, but we have people working for 10 days a month.
In general, the GTUC General Secretary said this year's national budget has fallen short of the expectations of the union, failing to adequately address many challenges confronting the working class and the impact the rise in the cost of living is having on citizens. He said the government also does not appear to have a clear infrastructure development plan in place to guide its spending, noting that while billions are being injected into infrastructure projects, those projects are being rolled out in a haphazard manner. Longtime sports journalist Raul Welch lost his William Street Kitty home to fire this afternoon. The fire service was summoned to the scene a little before 4 o'clock this afternoon after receiving multiple calls about the blaze. A neighbor said a loud noise was heard and he noticed a flickering of lights just before the house was spotted engulfed in flames. He explained that it took minutes for the partly wooden house to be completely engulfed.
Within 5 minutes before I leave out, we hear a little explosion, and then upstairs by me I saw the wire was high and low, the lights coming on high, low, bright bulb, then boom. When I take through the window, the fire up and kicking already. Crazy, man. It got out of hand real fast and quick.
The fire made its way to a nearby house where national boxer Kevin Alicock lives, but the action of the Guyana Fire Service resulted in only a section of that nearby house being affected.
She didn't really get to bring out anything from the house. Everything got destroyed there.
So it was damaged by fire or water?
Fire. Yeah, because on the other side, you can see on this side here, the wall was eat out already. So, I mean, I'm happy the day out. I mean, I'm worried about the neighbor too. I got to get some place to put my mom in.
A distraught Roy Welch explained that he had just left his home to pick up his son when he received a call about the fire.
Just left the house to go and collect my son from work, right? And I got a call from my sister, tell me, man, smoke coming from by your street. So I couldn't believe that anything untoward, because remember I just left the house. I left my wife downstairs in the yard, my big son upstairs, and she called me back. So I said, man, it can't be me. It can't be my home, because I just left the house. But then after, my friend in the street, referee Harry, and then my sister called me back as well. They tell me it's my home, right? So I turned back right away. I called my son and I told him, I said, man, catch a car and come home. And then I called my daughter. I said, come home and things. So that's as far as I know.
Mr. Welch said his family lost everything in the fire and will now have to pick up the pieces all again. The Guyana Fire Service is conducting a full investigation of the tragic blaze. Well, there's no resting in peace for some of those who have gone to the great beyond at Golden Grove on the east bank of the Marara. In a notice today, the Ministry of Health announced that there's a relocation of tombs that will take place at the Golden Grove Burial Ground at Lot 1 Grove, East Bank, Demerara. The ministry said it has become necessary due to the construction of pumps used to increase the drainage capacity in the Diamond Grove area. In a statement, the Health Ministry said an inspection of the site revealed that tombs located southwest of the burial ground must be moved due to their position and structural damage. The ministry said as such, a total of 15 tombs are to be relocated to a new burial ground within the local authority area. Relatives and family members are asked to contact the overseer of the Grove Diamond Neighborhood Democratic Council with information relating to their descendants interred in the affected areas.
Guyana's economy is rapidly transforming, and we're all part of it. Guyana is at the forefront of this development by providing reliable and efficient energy and supporting community development from the very core. 100% of Guyana's profit goes back to building schools, roads, and other important infrastructure that connects our cities and towns, providing fuel to domestic, marine, industrial, and aerial transportation. Guyana has now repositioned itself as a market leader in the petroleum industry, building a better future for all of us.
What was supposed to be a night of celebration turned into disaster after 4 friends who were all drunk left the bar in the city without a designated driver. Designate a driver. Don't drink and drive.
It all starts with one. Maybe it's one look. You know the one. Or one touch. Even one word. It can start with one step. Or one promise. One thrill. One first time. One deep breath. One leap of faith. One day to remember, or one night to forget. One moment, so many stories that make up one crazy, average, everyday, fabulous life. We get one life, just one. Make your move. It all starts with one.
With your regional and international news tonight, I am Svetlana Marshall. In the region, Mexican authorities have begun constructing giant tent shelters to prepare for a possible influx of Mexicans deported under U.S. President Donald Trump's promised mass deportations. The tents are part of the Mexican government's plan to ready shelters and reception centers in 9 cities across northern Mexico. Authorities at the site will provide deported Mexicans with food, temporary housing, medical care, and assistance in obtaining identity documents, according to a government document outlining the strategy called Mexico Embraces You. The government is also planning to have a fleet of buses ready to transport Mexicans from the reception centers back to their hometowns. More than 32,000 people have fled the northern Colombian region of Catatumbo, where 2 rival rebel groups are engaged in a bloody battle. At least 80 people have been killed over recent days amid the surge in fighting between rebels from the National Liberation Army (ELN) and factions of the Revolutionary Armed Forces of Colombia. One official government agency said it had received reports of ELN rebels going house to house and killing those suspected of ties with rival groups. The government has declared a state of emergency, and the first of a planned deployment of 5,000 soldiers have arrived in the area. President Gustavo Petro said on Tuesday that the state had failed to contain the violence, but that it would learn from that failure. His government has reactivated arrest warrants for 31 top commanders of the ELN, which had been suspended while the rebel group held peace talks with the government. Last week, President Petro suspended the talks for a second time in less than a year due to the violence in Catatumbo. The fighting has been so fierce that 32 people have fled their homes, according to figures provided by the Ombudsman's office on Tuesday. Many have sought refuge in schools and sports stadiums, which have been converted into shelters. And finally tonight, international news. The Kremlin says it is ready for mutually respectful dialogue with U.S. President Donald Trump about the war in Ukraine. This comes after Trump warned that Russia will face more sanctions if Putin does not stop what he described as the ridiculous war, a message Ukraine says they really welcome. Meanwhile, this afternoon, Trump is set to deliver his first major speech to global business and political leaders of his second term at the World Economic Forum. In the U.S., however, Trump has ordered 1,500 troops to the border to put up barriers as part of his immigration crackdown, and up to 10,000 troops could be deployed. And that's your News Source Evening Bulletin for tonight. I'm Svetlana Marshall, wishing you a pleasant evening.